This episode of the Flush Podcast is brought to you by Federal Ammunition, Onyx Hunt, Waltons, Illuma Trailers, Samaritan Tire, Lucky Duck Kennels, North Dakota Tourism, Compeer Home, and by Game Virtual Shooting Simulators. Today we're talking electronics, GPS collars, and handheld remotes for your bird dogs. My guests are Patrick Bowman and Rehan Nana from Garmin. We'll discuss the most commonly questions they get asked about their GPS collars and remotes and watches. Then we'll dig into some of the new items they have come out with this year and discuss how tracking and training collars help hunters stay connected to their dogs. Plus, we'll talk a few safety items as well, which is important when we're far away from cell service and need to use InReach. Whether you have a flushing dog or a pointing dog, I think there'll be useful information in this podcast for you.
The Flush. So fast, it hardly seems real. So vivid, the moment freezes in time before erupting in a blur of spurs and feathers. It's why we changed the way upland loads are built with Prairie Storm. Exclusive flight control FlexWad technology and a mix of copper-plated lead and flight stopper pellets combine to create dense, deadly shot strings through any choke. Longer shots, more power, fewer missed birds. Only from Federal.
Welcome to another episode of the Flush Podcast. I'm Travis Frank. Big Al is our producer, but he didn't do very much today because Tyler Webster is back in the house and he set everything up. We're in a new set here. This is not the Roost. This is Roost 2.0. Al, you might as well explain what we're doing in this room now.
Well, you know, we got this nice, beautiful wall that I myself built.
You did not. I saw you. You did not.
I can't believe you just handed him the nails. Just saying.
You handed him the nails.
Yes, I did parts of
building. That is not building.
Did you get it? Didn't cut your fingers or anything, did it?
Almost.
I mean, I don't want to.
Travis has seen me use a hammer before. It was really good.
It was actually
in my defense.
You know, when somebody does not know how to use a hammer, they hold it. Oh, stop over here. He held it like up by the top. I'm like, dude, you're gonna hit your finger on
that
the
is not true. But anyways, I'm shunned to the corner because I'm just the producer and I didn't plan far enough ahead to be able to sit at the table with them.
You know, it's all about plans, man.
Yeah.
You got to make plans in advance.
He is Big Al. He is the producer and he did produce himself right out of the show.
He really did. Yeah. Yeah, he did.
Good thing I have the editing power.
Oh, okay. Tyler, thank you so much for joining us.
Always a pleasure.
I'm getting a little comfortable here having you around. I like it. I like it a little bit. Yeah.
We're going to have to talk Scott into building Ron Share Production Studios West because I don't want to live here. But
you don't like traffic?
No, I see more people coming here to the office today than I'll see in the next month.
$5 says Travis would go with you.
I know it.
That studio.
I send him real estate listings every week. I'm not kidding.
The last one was really good, too.
It was. Yeah.
It was really good. Yeah. My wife's interested, so this could be happening. Tyler is not taking over my job yet, maybe someday, but he is, if you missed the announcement last week on the podcast, Tyler is joining our television show. He will be co-hosting the Flush television show moving forward.
I'm super excited. It's
He's
be a lot of
not
fun.
leaving North Dakota, as you can tell.
No.
He is not taking over this podcast. He's continuing the Western Wing Shooter podcast.
Correct.
But as long as I have him in town, I'm thinking you need to sit down. But
just using me like a rented mule right now. It's great. I love it.
I'm going to get every mile I can out of you right now. So let's jump into a first listener question that just came in this morning. And I thought this would be perfect for you.
Yeah.
Hi, Travis. After watching the Flush episode.
Hi, Travis.
This is from the listener.
Oh, okay.
After watching the Flush episode with you and Weston, I can't help but want to do that trip. The camping on the shores, breakfast, sunrises with your kids looks awesome to do. My son has been into deer, turkey, and waterfowl, primarily goose field hunting, but we're slowly working him into the uplands. I think we can swing this. Last fall, he was able to connect a couple times on a pheasant. He attached a photo. It's awesome. He likes to watch our 6-year-old lab work, and we just added another this spring. I'm not looking for pins, but wondering if you had any more general information. I've been looking at both the Partial area and Turtle Lake area in North Dakota, but not sure how the shore camping works. Look, because this is we were out in North Dakota.
Right.
Looks like you can possibly disperse camp on some WMAs and state land. Is that what you guys kind of do? Not sure if there are areas out there that's possible to shore fish walleyes and hunt uplands and waterfowl, or if heaven is the only place to do so.
Oh man,
I know
this is a good question.
I know, yeah. Hopefully this doesn't come through too pushy, but just trying to lessen the learning curve from my place in Wisconsin. You guys did the trip that we're hoping to do. Love all the info on the podcast, especially the stuff you did with Sonny and Jordan as I try to mold a 4-month-old lab, as well as turning me to the Prairie Farm podcast. All right. So
awesome.
Yeah. A lot of good stuff there.
This is a deep, but very, very good question.
And this is perfect for you, but also this is a question I've received a lot since that episode aired with my son camping out there in North Dakota, because other people that want to camp as well are wondering, and even in South Dakota and other places, people are just wondering, where do you camp?
Right.
And my question has been the same to everybody, or my response has been the same to everybody, in that I don't want to send them the wrong information. Right. So I always say this: please reach out to, in this case, North Dakota Game and Fish.
Yes.
And tell them what you're looking to do, and they will direct you to the right person to talk to. And that person will give you the answers that are, in fact, legal and correct.
Correct.
I'm worried that I would send you to a place and they're going to say, well, Travis Frank said you can camp here.
Yeah.
And then
you're going to receive the other.
We're going to be sitting in the office one day and the police are going to be here taking Travis away.
No, they're responsible. You aren't responsible. I wouldn't get in trouble, but they might if I send them the wrong information, because your role as a hunter is to make sure that you're always following the laws, even though somebody might be telling you information that's not correct. So there are some WMAs in state land that you can camp on.
Yep. There's a big difference between WMAs and WPAs.
Mm-hmm.
Waterfowl production areas are federal. There is no camping on that property. WMAs are wildlife management areas that are owned and managed by the North Dakota Game and Fish Department. But you're 100% correct. The North Dakota Game and Fish does a fantastic job of getting you to the right person to make sure that you get the correct information. But the short answer to the question, one thing that I'm very, very comfortable saying, is that there's a ton of Corps of Engineer campgrounds around a lot of these small lakes, but primarily on the Missouri River, Lake Sakakawea. And that's where you were at, was in a Corps of Engineer campground or adjacent, and some of the primitive parks.
No, I wasn't. I was on state land.
Were you?
Yeah.
You were on a WMA?
Yep. Okay. And I had called out to North Dakota Game and Fish. I explained what I'm looking to do. I said, is this an area that I can camp on? And I explained the property, and he said, yes, but only on certain days of the week.
Yes. Yeah. They had to change laws back during the oil boom because there were people that were pulling campers in there and living in one spot all year long.
Mm-hmm.
And so now they make it so you can, you have certain days of the week.
You can be there for 6 days, but then you have to move. And what that allowed, basically, North Dakota officers were being babysitters, because they had to, drive by and say, oh, he's still here. He's supposed to move every however many days. And they couldn't really prove that. So they said, all right, fine. There's one day of the week where you can't camp on this property. And that would determine if there's somebody still there, they know then that this person is squatting.
But there's a lot of really nice Corps of Engineer campgrounds around the lake. That time of the year that you're planning on going out there in October, I would assume, if you're going to go out and chase pheasants, there's nobody else there. They're basically vacant. And in all those Corps of Engineer campgrounds, there's going to be primitive camping. Most of the actual core campgrounds where they have plugins and power and all that kind of stuff are going to be closed for the season. But there's plenty of opportunities to do that. I would absolutely reach out to the Game and Fish Department, though, and get correct information on that. As far as the fishing, that time of the year, you can absolutely cast and blast right from shore.
You and I have done it together.
Yes.
Yep.
The walleyes move up shallow that time of the year. You're likely to catch smallmouth bass, northern pike, and walleyes, catfish, all literally from where you could be also killing pheasants.
Yep. And we did it all in one day. We waterfowl hunted in the morning, then we went uplands, and then we caught walleyes that night.
Yeah.
We have done it together.
We have done it. Yep.
So heaven does exist.
It does.
It does exist.
It is North Dakota in October.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
We might have to make that into the Travis Frank challenge. If you go out there, you got to shoot some ducks in the morning, some pheasants at noon, and then go out and go fishing at night.
I think I've got 3 or 4 different species of ducks, geese, sandhill cranes, pheasants, hunt, sharptails, and walleyes in the same day.
Sorry, Travis. We got to make it the Tyler
it was
Webster
a-
challenge, actually.
It was a day.
Watch the video right
Yeah.
now. I'm bowing
Yeah.
down to Tyler.
But that's the problem with October is that there's so much to do.
Not
out
enough
there.
daylight hours.
That's right.
Yep.
That's right.
If
it was June.
October and November, if September, October, November lasted 6 months and came around twice a year, I'd be happy.
Me too. Yeah.
Okay, so that response I think should apply to anybody looking to camp in Wyoming or in South Dakota or Iowa, Montana. Yes, call the state, find out what the rules are. Rules change.
Yep.
When I did something, it might be different than when you're going to go out there to do
The
it.
one thing that I would definitely want to caution people about is that you are not allowed to camp on plots land. I get that question all the time. Plots land is private land open to sportsmen. That does not mean you can camp on it. So I get that question probably 2-3 times a month. Somebody's asking, hey, I found this really cool piece of plots land. I want to pull my camper. Can I put it on an approach? No, you absolutely cannot unless you talk to the landowner proper. But you cannot camp on plots land.
I have received another question. Nope, I can't find it right now. Okay, and basically the question was, can you hunt plots land for sharp-tailed grouse and Hungarian partridge before pheasant season opens? And this was a non-resident coming out. It would be the week of the resident pheasant opener,
right?
But he's not looking to hunt for pheasants.
Yeah.
He just wants to hunt sharp-tailed grouse and partridge on plots. Wondering if he can do it.
You cannot. For that first week of the North Dakota resident pheasant season, you can't. Non-residents are not allowed to access plot land at all. And
prior to the resident pheasant season opening, you can.
Correct.
Yep.
But once pheasants open for that first week, from Saturday to Saturday, that second Saturday, you can start accessing plot land again. But it comes down to a practicality issue for the game and fish, right? I mean, if you're out there walking on plots land saying, I'm just out here hunting huns and sharptails, those pheasants that are over there in the back of my pickup that I got earlier, that was someplace else.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it creates a real issue there.
Yeah, too much gray area. They can't manage
exactly.
That's like when in Minnesota, during before the fishing opener, people would go out and
fish for bluegills.
They're bluegill or crappie fishing with a number 7 Rapala. Yeah. Or once northern season opens, muskie season isn't open, and they're throwing big bucktails for northern pike. Right.
The other thing that I do get a lot through my podcast is people asking or assuming that just because you can access plots land, that pheasant season is not that non-residents can hunt that first week of the season. That's not correct. You can. You just can't hunt plots land or wildlife management areas.
Can you hunt the federal properties, though?
You can hunt the federal properties. You can hunt waterfowl production areas, that kind of stuff. And you can also hunt private unposted land. But you can access plots or wildlife management areas.
And you could still knock on a farmer's door after permission.
Absolutely.
Yep.
The other thing
that's an art in itself.
Yeah. The other thing that you can do, besides the private land and that kind of stuff, is there's just going to be, if you haven't been to North Dakota, there's still places that have just straight up unposted private land. Whether you go and knock on a door, I always recommend that you go and knock on a door, but Onyx is a really, really good tool for that. They have all the electronically posted pieces, and then you also have to check for paper posted signs.
Yep. Somebody else that's never been out there that doesn't realize how that works. The corners of the property,
right?
If there's a posted sign on it, that means the whole section,
correct,
is posted by that landowner. They don't need to. In Minnesota, it's like every 50 feet or something. There has to be a sign.
It used to be every quarter mile. Okay. But if there's different landowners in different sections, then you're probably going to want to check with that landowner, because just because it's owned by somebody else doesn't mean it's not leased by that farmer that has that piece posted. So I honestly kind of wish they would just go to electronic posting. Get away from the paper stuff because that just leaves so much gray area and ambiguity. It's kind of is a piece of a tattered posted sign from 1995. Is that still considered posted? I'm calling somebody just because I don't want to get ran off by a landowner.
Sure. Yep.
So.
Start planning your fall hunt in North Dakota at HelloND.com. North Dakota has over 875,000 acres of private land open to walk-in hunting, all part of the PLOTS program. The 2025 spring crow counts are up 6% statewide after a 37% increase last year. Pheasant numbers are on the rise in North Dakota with statewide brood counts and harvest numbers showing strong positive trends. If waterfowl hunting is your game, North Dakota's 2025 breeding index was the 33rd highest on record. The state's central region is home to over 2.6 million breeding ducks and prime habitat for hunting waterfowl. So welcome to a hunter's paradise in North Dakota. Visit HelloND.com.
Hunting season is right around the corner, but the time to haul gear and equipment never really ends if you're active in great outdoor adventures all year long. Aluma has trailer models for all of your hauling needs, from ATV and UTV trailers to utility, snowmobile, motorcycle, car trailers. Basically, if you need to haul it, Aluma has a trailer built for the job. I've been towing with their trailers for years now, and trust me, they tow like a dream. Their trailers are constructed out of lightweight, strong, corrosion-resistant aluminum, and they're 100% maintenance-free. Plus, they come with an industry-best 5-year warranty. American-made in Bancroft, Iowa. Visit alumaklm.com to find a trailer that fits your needs.
Your most devoted friend doesn't put on a seatbelt or stand on two legs. You're his keeper, and you'll do anything to protect that bond. Protect them with the Lucky Duck Kennel. Lucky Ducks are 5-star crash tested from the center to keep your hunting partner safe. The patented one-piece rotomolded kennel is durable yet lightweight, so anyone in the family can move it. Lucky Duck Kennels feature stainless steel hardware, powder-coated tie-downs, and are proudly made in the USA. So go to LuckyDuck.com today and see the full line of kennels and accessories. Keep your dog safe from the unpredictable with the Lucky Duck, because loyalty goes both ways.
All right. Enough about you, Tyler.
Yeah,
great answers.
I was waiting for you to bring these guys in. I'm here all the time, apparently.
He's here just for the looks. This is a video podcast, I believe. Al?
Yeah, I mean, as far as I know, there's a camera looking at you, so.
All right. Well, Rehan Nana and Patrick Bowman from Garmin are also joining us today. Thank you for letting Tyler ramble there for 20 minutes.
Did you guys learn anything?
Yeah. Did you take anything away from that?
Yes and no. And I just want to make one point of clarification. Like, North Dakota in October may be heaven, but I was in like a pole barn in North Dakota in late December, and I can assure you that was not heaven.
It's not.
Not at all.
Well, and that's why Tyler
maybe the coldest I've ever been.
Yeah. Tyler leaves right around mid-December and doesn't come
December
back
1.
till when do you come back?
End of January.
He's a snowbird.
Yeah. I mean, I do come back during the coldest portion of the year, which is probably not smart, but it's about the time that most seasons start closing.
Is that also the windiest period of North Dakota?
There is no calm.
There's no down. Yeah, it's always blowing 30 to 60, something like that. Yeah. Gentlemen, appreciate you taking some time today to join us. We're going to talk gear as hunting season approaches here in the next couple of weeks. A lot of hunters are getting ready. A lot of them are tuning up their dogs, and they're tightening things up with the training part of it. We've never talked about collars, GPS collars, remotes, electronics until today. So I appreciate you guys making time for us. It's one of those things where I think I'll just talk about my neighbors, which I've been doing lately because we have several puppies in the neighborhood, and they feel like this right here, this remote, and they call it a shock collar.
Right.
I got a shock collar. We're good. And I'm like,
it's a misnomer.
It is. It should not be called a shock collar.
Training collar.
It's a training collar. Yeah. This is a tool. We use these tools. Tyler and I use these tools, and most of the people listening right now have some sort of a way to stay connected to their dogs. And there's a right way and a wrong way to do that.
Absolutely.
I just want to, before we get into this, I just want to remind people that a GPS collar and the remote are a tool that you build towards in your training process. You do not put a collar on and start shocking your dog. The collar is basically an extension of your command lead or leash that you've been using in your training process. You build a point of contact with the dog. The dog understands that command. For example, constant stimulation with a command lead means to stop in my training that I've done with Daisy. I overlay over time the collar and I I produce the same stimulation, a constant squeeze, basically, constant contact.
Keep on doing that.
Yeah,
that felt good.
Well, I'll put
I talked about you or the dog.
let me put the collar on and I'll see if it still feels good.
All right.
Yeah. So, but what she knows is when she feels that, she's to stop. So my collar essentially becomes a leash that expands, 1.3 miles. That's how far
That's how far you've seen it.
That's where I lose her. That's where I've lost her. Rehan, I guess is a good spot to jump in because I've always wondered, she doesn't run 1.3 miles away from me anymore, but when she did, and I was holding down the stop button, was she feeling that at 1.3 miles? I know she was right away because she's going
as she was chasing an antelope across the prairie.
Yeah, turkey's soaring away. Would that stimulation, was that still being received at that distance?
Yeah, so that extends, like when we look at Garmin tracking and training collars, if we're looking at that, the distance and true line of sight is going to be out to 9 miles with it, right? But you guys were kind of touching on training. One of the kind of mantras with it is like, you just need to be able to make sure you can see your dog as well if you're going to offer a simulation command. I mean, I've used it my entire realistically dog training and hunting career, really. And it's like, Travis, I remember I was up in Minnesota and like I had a young setter at the time and she just kept bumping and bumping grouse. It was early season and she busted kind of a covey of grouse. Then she kept tracking and tracking and tracking and I couldn't recall her. But I was able to track that dog effectively 2 miles, 3 miles through the thickest early season, do you know what I mean, grouse cover. And if had I not had that GPS collar, that dog would have been gone. So just that GPS, if people aren't using GPS, and we can get into it further, but I always just say that is one of the handiest things you can possibly have. It's kind of like an insurance policy, right?
Yeah, if you have dogs like ours that get out and run a setter, pointers, I mean, the OGs of dog training, I don't know how they did it when they couldn't stay connected. Could you imagine the anxiety of releasing this dog? And when I would release Daisy, she would go and do 800, 900 yard loop before she would come back. Hot lap.
Yeah.
Yeah. She was just gone. And I mean, I did have her.
That was
go beyond.
My fault, to be fair.
That's your fault. I know. I've been very public about that.
Yeah,
I put that on you for years. But I could not imagine, the time I lost her in the Badlands. I don't know how I would have found her without it.
You likely wouldn't have.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of a new adopter to GPS collars. I ran beeper collars for years. The big thing for me was when you guys started being able to connect that to the watch.
Yeah.
Because I hated walking through the woods or through the cattails or whatever, staring at a handheld all the time. I was telling Travis yesterday that I'm a little bit of a nervous dog owner anyways, especially if I'm hunting in a new place or, I'm never comfortable in the woods. Period. End of sentence. I'm a prairie guy.
Same.
So like if I'm in the woods, specifically like up here in northern Minnesota, my dogs aren't used to being in the woods. They're not used to echoes, which are a real thing in the woods.
Mm-hmm.
And the other real thing that's in the woods up there are wolves, right? So if I'm going through the woods, I need to be able to see where my dog's at because they're not used to not being able to see me. They're very connected to me, and I don't think they're going to run away on purpose. But when you're walking through the woods and you have those echo situations, the GPS collar, you're exactly right, Rehan. It's like the cheapest form of making sure you can get your dog back that we put all this time, love, and effort into that you can possibly put on a dog.
We're going to jump into a lot of this stuff here, but what I want to do is just remind people that if you're unsure how to get your dog to the point where using a collar as a means, as a tool to stay connected with your dog, we did review that a couple months ago when we did the full method dog training series. We talked about transitioning from the command lead to the collar and how to do that correctly. So if you're wondering how to do that, you can go back a couple months into the podcast and get that information. All right. So Rehan, And Patrick, Rehan, we'll start with you. You used to work at Pheasants Forever here in Minnesota. You're no longer at Pheasants Forever, but you are with Garmin. How long have you been with Garmin? Where do you live now?
Yeah, so I'm in Kansas City. I'm from here originally. I was up there in Minnesota in those cold winters and heavy woods for a few years. Loved it. Great organization. Then I actually transitioned and did some conservation work in the capital of Missouri. Missouri is a pretty unique conservation state. That's kind of where my family's from, where I cut my teeth on hunting. And then I've been here at Garmin for about 7.5 years now. Feeling a little long in the tooth. I do PR and I also do some corporate communication stuff. But my background, how I ended up here, is you held it up, the Alpha 100. I've always loved the dog training stuff. When I was somewhere else when that unit came out, and I wrote an article being like, this is just going to completely change how we relate to our dogs, how we train our dogs, and how we hunt with dogs. And after that, I was like, I want to work there one day. And I bugged them enough, and they eventually gave me a job.
Let you in. Yeah. Patrick, how about you? How long you been at Garmin?
Yeah, I've been with the company for about 5 years now. I've lived in Kansas City my entire life, so this is definitely home for me. I'm used to the eastern part of the state here, but obviously do some hunting out west. And really, my background being waterfowl. I've done it most of my life. Obviously, I spill into the upland space a little bit. When you're talking South Dakota or Western Kansas, we go on a couple of pheasant trips each year, but really waterfowl is my game. So I'm running labs. So I'm a little bit different than you guys. And I think it'll generate some cool discussion as we get into this a little bit more about kind of what are the differences and what should I be running for my dog, because Garmin's just got so many different options.
Right. And Rehan, what kind of dogs do you have? I know you spend a lot of time in quail country. I know you still like a pheasant here and there too, but your world revolves around upland birds like us.
Well, my world revolves around that, and I actually had a little baby, and my setter was getting older, so I actually went to a Labrador. So I went from pointy dog to a Labrador. We had to put my setter down last year, and yeah, I know it. Good dog, but yeah, Labrador. She's actually out of trial lines, and I'd never trained a retriever, so I was kind of curious. Like, I'd train upland dogs, and it's been a really cool experience. It's been a lot of fun. So we do upland, we do waterfowl. Travis, I actually had her up there on grouse for the first time last year in Minnesota. Oh, that was interesting. I mean, the grouse woods better than I do, but it seemed like last year we were kind of up further north, and it seemed like the carryover, it seemed like they were educated birds. Like, there's an expression with grouse hunting I like, that I was like, 9 out of 10 birds are going to give you the slip, and then 1 out of 10 grouse are going to make a mistake, and that's when you connect. And there weren't a lot of 1 out of 10 birds, but it was very cool. It was very cool to see her start putting a new species together,
Oh, yeah.
And it's fantastic.
Tyler and I were talking about this yesterday. Just my dog will go out, a couple 100 yards on the prairie, and she just knows this is the comfortable range.
Right.
She doesn't actually like to be close to me. So she likes to start hunting.
I'm not sure if she really likes
I don't know if she does either, but she usually starts at
I gave
about
her a bagel this morning. She loves me.
Knock it off. She also ate lasagna off my 3-year-old's plate
And a
last
cheeseburger
night.
the day before.
I know.
She's mad about the cheeseburger.
I'm still mad about the cheeseburger. That was the last cheeseburger. I didn't get one. I had to make a different meal for myself. Talk about shock collars.
Right.
Maybe getting one.
Yeah.
All right, I'm just kidding. But we're talking about the difference when the dog goes in to the woods, how they just naturally
shorten up. Yeah.
And it's kind of cool to see how that goes. But okay, so Rehan, we'll start with you. What kind of collar do you run on your dog, and why?
I actually run GPS on, I run a 300 on my dog, even though she's a Labrador. Historically, when we look in the kind of the flushing dog world, it's not traditionally used. But again, for me, there's so many times that I find it useful that I use it. So I use a 300. And just some examples, like if you're hunting in big CRP and it's a windy day, you can't really see a dog moving that well through grass. She does get after it sometimes, so she can take off. So having that kind of insurance policy, like I said, of just knowing exactly where she's at is always beneficial. And the other thing too, when we're looking at like the alpha, the mapping side of it, I hunt in enough different places that I just really enjoy having that. If I'm just like around here, if people don't want to get into a full-on tracking unit, if you got kind of a retriever or a flushing dog, I also use the Sport Pro. that's a fantastic unit, and the Delta as well. Just easy, simple training tools that you can kind of throw in the pack and go.
The other thing with labs, and a lot of lab owners that watch the show are going to be running their dogs on pheasants. The tracking collars work excellent in cattails. Same thing as in CRP. But I mean, if you get into a big cattail slough and a dog starts tracking some pheasants off, whatever, I mean, I've lost pointing dogs in there, but you can certainly do the same thing with flushing dogs.
Yeah, you'll start to understand too, just how your dog, you can look at the remote, like she's on a bird or he's on a bird. You know, and you might not be able to see that dog 20 yards in front of you, but you just know what that looks like.
Especially if the wind's blowing. If the wind's blowing and everything's moving out there, if it's dead calm, fine. You can either hear it or see the grass moving. But if the wind's blowing, good luck.
Patrick, what do you use for your dog and why?
Yeah, I actually, similar to Rehan, I run a couple of different systems. So in an upland scenario, I'm a big fan of that Alpha 10. I don't know if either of you guys have run it before, but essentially it's a dumbed down, smaller version of a Pro 550 Plus. It's about half the size, but gives you a really similar functionality as far as that directional arrow and distance to your dog. And the reason that I like it, I think it's great for a single dog system. So if you're running more than one dog, it's not ideal because there's one joystick and one training button. You do got to switch between like a stim to a tone or a tone to a vibrate, or switch between dogs to be able to give stimulation. But for a single dog system, it is perfect for me. And Tyler kind of mentioned it a little bit earlier with the watch functionality. Because I have all that functionality on my watch, being able to see where my dog is, the Alpha 10 can just sit on the hip or sit on the vest. I don't really use it much other than the one training button, which, I set to a level 3 stimulation. That's all I ever need. So that's a great unit for like the single dog guy in an upland scenario, especially if you're running a lab, a little bit more simple than maybe a big running dog where you need something like an Alpha 300. But I mentioned that waterfowl is really my game, right? And so for that, Rehan kind of mentioned it, but the Sport Pro, that's a phenomenal unit. You have everything right there on the face of it. You got a continuous and a momentary stem, as well as a tone and vibrate button. You got your LED collar lights and a bark limiter built into it. So that's a phenomenal unit. And then we actually just launched this past year our Alpha LTE. So for the guy that wants to get into tracking but doesn't necessarily want to spend $700 to $1,200 on a full track and train system, you can get into an Alpha LTE for about $300 and actually add that into your Sport Pro system or so any other e-collar that you got out there.
Is the collar, though. It's not the handheld device, just to clear that up.
Correct. Yeah. So your LTE will pair straight up to your phone. It'll also tie into your track and train systems like your 300 Pro 550 Plus to give you LTE plus VHF connectivity. So it's a really cool box for a lot of different use cases.
And I want to hop in here because I think it's important for people who may not be familiar with kind of the two different systems, LTE and VHF, right? So when we look at traditional Garmin tracking units like the Alpha series, right, they're using a VHF, right? So the collar itself is getting GPS information. That information is then sent to the handheld via VHF, right? So that's a kind of a radio transmission. And that's a fantastic system. There are some limitations to it. For example, if your dog is on one side of a mountain and you're on the other side of it, or a large hill, that line of sight can be interrupted, right? And that's where you can get a question mark on your unit saying, where's that dog? It's because that has been broken. It's important to note that both the handheld and the collar are still trying to find one another. So if that ever happens, try to get to a high point so you can reestablish contact, or where that question mark on your unit is. Now that obviously it doesn't happen often, but that's just something that does come up. Where the LTE comes in is that it's a completely different operating system, right? So it is operating on LTE like cell. So you have the ability on like the Alpha series, the Alpha 300, that you can run those concurrently. So it's kind of like a belt and suspenders approach. So if you somehow drop VHF, the LTE will automatically come on top of it. And so you never lose that. So so it's a redundancy system. But what's really cool about that LTE system is you can just take that and put it on any collar. And so long as you have cell service, you're able to track. Now, once you get outside of cell service, it drops. But the cool thing about that LTE is as soon as you get back into cell service, it's going to start picking back up, right? So you could theoretically be in Minnesota and your dog could be in Florida. And if you both have cell service, you're going to be able to track the dog.
Oh, that's wild.
Yeah, and that's new just this year, right?
Past year,
yeah. This past year, and like Rehan mentioned, the range is really what sets it apart from what we've done in the past. There is no range limitation so long as you're within cell service.
Hunting season will be here before we know it, and hopefully that means you'll be putting food on the table for your family. Do you know what you're going to do with it? How about summer grilling season? Is that going well for you? If you want to take your meat processing and cooking game to the next level, then I suggest you head to Waltons.com. Waltons will open up your world to basically every kind of meat processing item you can imagine. Their motto is everything but the meat because they sell everything but the meat. They cater to commercial meat processors, butcher shops, chefs, hunters, and regular old family cooks like myself. There's a satisfaction that comes from taking your wild game from the field and preparing it in a way that you, your family, and your friends will enjoy. If making sausage or snack sticks or jerky or anything like that seems intimidating, they even have their own online university called Meatgistics with recipes and educational videos to help you learn how to make great food. You don't have to be a pro to cook like one. Head to Waltons.com to learn more. Waltons, everything but the meat. Hunting season will be here before we know it, and hopefully that means you'll be putting food on the table for your family. Do you know what you're going to do with it? How about summer grilling season? Is that going well for you? If you want to take your meat processing and cooking game to the next level, then I suggest you head to Waltons.com. Waltons will open up your world to basically every kind of meat processing item you can imagine. Their motto is everything but the meat because they sell everything but the meat. They cater to commercial meat processors, butcher shops, chefs, hunters, and regular old family cooks like myself. There's a satisfaction that comes from taking your wild game from the field and preparing it in a way that you, your family, and your friends will enjoy. If making sausage or snack sticks or jerky or anything like that seems intimidating, they even have their own online university called Meatgistics with recipes and educational videos to help you learn how to make great food. You don't have to be a pro to cook like one. Head to Waltons.com to learn more. Waltons, everything but the meat.
We know the feeling. When you close your eyes, you're there. Wide open spaces, fresh air. You have big dreams. We also know there's uncertainty. Between you and your destination, there's the unknown. But we know how to get you there. We've been helping people like you find their way home for decades. We're Compeer Home, and we know the way. To get started or find out more, visit us at CompierHome.com or by calling 833-986-8001. Compeer Home is a division of Compeer Financial, who is an equal opportunity provider and employer and an equal credit opportunity lender. Compeer Home Services, NMLS number 619731. Copyright 2025. All rights reserved.
What's the battery life on that LTE collar?
I have to look up. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
Man.
Well, I was going to say it's pretty good. Like, I think I want to say it's like 56 hours. I'm going to have to double check for you.
Okay.
That's a long time.
Right.
Or 45 hours and 2-minute tracking, I believe. So, and 75-minute when you're in a dynamic, I believe, or in companion mode. So it's longer than a full day hunt, right? So if you're even going out for a weekend, you're pretty much going to get that, depending on what your track mode is. And that's also just something for people to be aware of. Like, any GPS technology is a very power consumptive technology, right? It's just across the board. So you can actually change update rates to get longer battery life, shorter battery life, higher fidelity, lower fidelity on your track points.
So if you just wanted the peace of mind to know that if my dog runs away, I can find the dog. I don't need to communicate because, again, this collar, the Alpha LTE, is just going on the dog collar. It's a little device that is 3 inches by inch and a half.
Like the size of
size.
Yeah, matchbox car.
Yep. And so that goes on the dog's collar, and you download the Garmin app on your phone. and you pair it up, right?
Correct. And then if you want to run it as a redundancy system, you pair the Alpha LTE, which is on your phone, to your Alpha handheld, and now you're running concurrent track lines, right? It'll look just like one single, but it's a redundancy system. The other really cool thing about the LTE is for people who, we have a lot of different options when it comes to GPS collars, right? You've got Alpha 10, you've got Pro 550 Plus, you've got the Alpha 300, But for somebody who may just be used to running an e-collar, let's say you already have an e-collar and you run in places that are heavy with cell service, right? You're not going backcountry. You can realistically you can realistically just take that thing and slip it on an existing e-collar, right? On the collar strap. And now you effectively have a tracking and training unit, right? It's not going to be as robust, but it's still that tracking functionality.
It's not robust because you can't press the button and stimulate or beep at the dog, but you can always have that peace of mind to know where your dog is. And how many stories have we heard over the years of people that lost their dog?
Yeah.
And a lot of flushing dogs stay really close when they're hunting. And so therefore, a lot of those handlers do not run a GPS e-collar on them because they can always see this dog right in front of them. But what happens when it runs away?
What happens if your kennel door pops open when you're parked in a gas station? Like I've heard people have that happen where they got the dog in the kennel in the box of the pickup and they didn't get their door latched quite all the way, or something happens, dog decides to break out. It can happen depending on what kind of kennel you're using. If you got that thing on the dog, at least you're going to be able to find the dog.
Right, absolutely. Okay, so that's the Alpha LTE new product. I run the 300.
Mm-hmm.
What do you run?
I run the 200i. Okay. I still got it works great.
Mm-hmm.
I switched over. The main reason I switched over is from beeper collars, which I ran forever, is because I started hunting more and more places. I started hunting states that I'm not familiar with. And being able to have that connectivity with the dog, be able to find the dog. Like I said, I'm a little bit of a nervous pet owner in the field, especially the rough grouse woods, the Chucker Hills, the Mearns Canyons down in Arizona, where you don't have that line of sight all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And when I switched over, I went with the 200i. First of all, that was the predecessor to the 300. 300 wasn't out yet. Otherwise, I would have went with the 300.
Sure.
But the main reason I went with it is because there is an SOS feature on the handheld where I hunt a lot by myself in some of these places, which realistically is probably not the greatest of ideas. If you're down in the Mearns Canyons in Arizona,
yours look like this one.
Looks just like that. Yep.
Okay. You got the SOS button on the side here.
Correct.
Okay.
I'm down in the Mearns Canyons in Arizona. You've been down there before.
Yep.
There's tons and tons of loose rock. I mean, it's not like you're climbing the mountains, but you're going up and down these canyons.
You're far enough away that if you hurt yourself and you needed somebody to come get you, it would be a process to try to figure out how and where you are.
And honestly, one of those things I never thought about until somebody else pointed it out to me. I was down there the first day I was down there. I went out in the morning. I was going to go chase some gambles and scale quail. I told my aunt, whose hotel I was staying at, I was going to be down this road. I was like, if I'm not back by dark, truck broke down, something, because there's no cell phone service down there in the mountains. Well, I went out there and I got some gambles and some scale quail, and I was like, man, I'm going to get the slam in one day. I'm going to go up the mountains. I'm going to go chase Mearns.
She had no idea where you went, and she was worried sick.
40 miles the other direction. If something would have happened, there's no way I could have. She
called me. She's like, "Have you heard from Taylor?"
Exactly.
Where did he go? I don't know. But I'm here too.
Yeah, right.
A little buddy.
You're always.
I'm always worried.
It's nice. But the other thing that Garmin offers that's worth talking about, if you are going to be hunting in some of these places, they have search and rescue insurance. It's $40 a year. Where if you get out there, you break a leg, knock an ACL, whatever. I mean, like, this stuff is it's not out of the realm of possibility in a lot of places. Being able to hit the SOS button, being able to send text messages, all that kind of stuff, letting people know that you're all right with the InReach. It's just, again, cheap insurance for you and for your dog.
Sure. Do you guys want to explain how that works, Rehan?
Yeah, I can jump in there real quick. So it's called InReach satellite technology. And what it is InReach is a low Earth orbit satellite constellation. And so when, for example, like your cell phone goes out of cell coverage, it's because it's the cell towers that you're not able to communicate with. So having a satellite communicator, you're actually going up to the sky to get that communication. So when we look at InReach, it's a two-way communication device. First and foremost, we hope nobody ever has to hit that SOS, right? So you can text back and forth. So that's streamlining so much for people. And actually, we have a new device where you can send photos and voice messages. There's an SOS capability on all InReach devices. So you can trigger that SOS. And what happens when you hit that SOS, you don't need to do anything else. That's a really important thing to think about, where if you trigger that SOS, three things happen simultaneously. There's going to be a message that goes to the Garmin Response Center in Montgomery, Texas. And pretty much anywhere you are in the world, they're going to be able to figure out who's going to be the best person to come and get you, whether it's local law enforcement, search and rescue, military, whatever it may be. And then they kind of spool up, give coordinates, they stay with you to the end. The second thing they'll do is they'll reach out to you to see what's going on, what's your situation, what happened. And then they will also reach out to your emergency contact all at the same time. So Tyler, you said it best. Like, I used to do the exact same thing. Like I would leave a note on the counter being like, I'm going here. If I'm not back by 7 on Sunday, call my brother and the police because something's wrong. Those days are kind of gone because now you can just trigger the SOS. The other thing that for us, like a lot of times people don't think about the fact that it's a two-way communication device. So we think about it like if something happens to us when we're out in the middle of nowhere with cell service, somebody can help us. But the other thing to think about is what happens if something happens to somebody at home and somebody needs to get in contact with you when you're on a week-long backcountry trip. With InReach, they have the ability to do that. It's also fun. There's tracking on it, so you can just set it up so people back home can be watching you. And again, going back to that fidelity rate, whether it's a 2-minute, 10-minute, 30-minute track, 24-hour track, you just pulls up online and you can see where somebody is. And I think that's fun because people can kind of go along with you. But then there's a real aspect of that, which is, hey, if you're not moving and you're supposed to be moving, somebody can reach out to you and say what's going on. And we talk about the watch. I think it's important also just to note that with the watch, it can pair into the InReach. And so if needed, you can actually trigger when it's paired. You can trigger an SOS directly off of your watch, right? So that's kind of an overview. Patrick, do you have anything to add there?
No, I don't think so. I think you hit on it pretty well. I mean, InReach really it's one of those technologies that, you have it and I hope you never have to use it, but it does just give you so much peace of mind. And Rehan hit on it a little bit, but, a lot of guys don't think about what happens if something happens to your dog. What happens if something happens to your truck? Maybe you have a flat tire on the side of the road. InReach is not just an emergency response in the aspect of search and rescue, but it's also a way that you could call a tow truck. You could call a vet. You could call, for you, or maybe it's someone that you came into contact with on a trail or on a trip. So it really is. It's not just for you in emergencies. It's for people back home. It's for your dog. It's for your truck. It's for all these different use cases.
You don't need it until you need it.
Exactly right. Do you guys want to talk a little bit about the Garmin insurance for the SAR insurance that you guys do offer? A lot of people don't think about it. And obviously, if something really, truly bad does happen and you're going to hit that SOS button, it doesn't matter at that point. I mean, you need help, right? Or somebody else needs help. But one of the things that you don't think about is like not all states offer this as something that you don't have to pay for, right? And if you have to get medevaced out of the mountains or something like that, you're talking thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. I mean, at the end of the day, at least you're getting out. But for $40 a year, Garmin SAR insurance is a really nice, cheap alternative that I think if you guys want to talk about that a little bit, I think it's worth a minute.
Yeah, I think first and foremost there, it's really on the user to understand what state you're in and what the state regulations are, right? Some states, you mentioned, Tyler, have it's built into your hunting license. It covers your search and rescue. Other states, there's no coverage at all. So I think that's first and foremost is you need to understand where you're at and how search and rescue works and what is covered and what's not. But as you mentioned, Garmin does offer several different tiers of search and rescue coverage. I'll let Rehan kind of get into those tiers and talk a little bit more about it there. But I guess that's my thoughts.
Yeah, so there are three plans for people within US and Canada. The SAR 100, there's a high risk plan, and then there's a high altitude, and it goes up. Obviously, if you're doing high altitude stuff, there's just inherent, it's more difficult, there's more resources that go into it. If people are interested in it, you can quickly Google it. Just do the search and rescue insurance on Garmin. It'll pull up with a full page with everything that's kind of covered, what it is, how much it is, and all of those items.
You're a high risk, Tyler.
Definitely.
You're a high risk. Okay. There are a lot of collars. There are different handhelds. I think a lot of times we'll get into your most frequently asked questions shortly here, but there's different collars. There's different handhelds. Which one, dumb it down for us, which one do you recommend for different dogs, like a flushing breed versus a pointing breed in the upland world? He's smiling. Rehan's laughing. I know. It's a loaded question.
No, it's a tough question. It's like I kind of joke. It's like they're like my children. I love them all equally, but for different reasons. I don't know. It's really the thing I've always found really interesting about Garmin, both prior to being here and then after, is that we don't make one product necessarily that fits everybody, right? So it really depends on what you like doing, how you like hunting. So for example, we created the Alpha 100, and that was just kind of a revolutionary product. It combined both the e-collar technology and the Astro systems, right? So you have your first track and train collar. That was great. But then people said, hey, I don't want something that robust, right? I want something similar or simpler. So we created the 550 Plus. So the 550 Plus is a great unit for people who want a simplified tracking system, but really like the tube style, one hand, no look, button control. It's low, medium, high button. So if you're familiar with like a Pro 550 or kind of that older style tube, that's a great one because it just adds a 1 inch by 1 inch screen at the bottom with the Delta. You can still pair it into the app. So if you want more mapping, you can do that. But if you want kind of the most horsepower, you step up into an Alpha 300. I can't stress how much I love that unit, just because it's so much tech if you want it. But the other thing is it's so customizable that if the only thing you want it to do is track your dog, mark your truck, and see a map, you can do that, right? Mm-hmm. So I really suggest playing around with it, and then the sky's the limit. Patrick, I don't want to do the whole product line. You step in here.
Yeah, I mean, I think you hit on the big two as far as popularity within the market is going to be your Alpha 100, 200, 300 series, or your Pro 550 Plus, which is really more of your training forward handheld. While you do have the 3 buttons on the 300 that can be customized to be anything that you want, the Pro 550 Plus is really more for that professional training use or someone that's really training heavy. That's a great unit. I talked a little bit about earlier the Alpha 10 as well. I would call that kind of right there in the middle. It's not a training forward unit. It's a really, really simple tracking unit with a small screen, small size. Mm-hmm. So it's for that guy that just wants to take a quick glance, see where their dog's at, and have a little bit of training functionality. But that is one of the most frequent questions that we get is, what handheld do I want? We have a great resource on our website. If you just go to the dog tracking and training page on the Garmin website, there's a little compare button up in the top left corner. If you click compare, you can compare any of those units side by side. It'll show you exactly what features they do have or don't have, how many dogs you can add to them. So that's a great resource that I'd really push anyone that's kind of in that area of question of what unit should I get. Go use that resource, and it will be very, very helpful for you.
Yeah, I think if you have multiple dogs, the Alpha series allows you to pair multiple collars with it. Yep. Just a question that comes to mind. I run in the field with other hunters that have their own e-collars and their own remotes, and I always wonder, will the signal ever get mixed up to the point where when I try to stop Daisy, I'm actually stopping Bo? Right. Because it just somehow that connection goes to the wrong e-collar.
Yeah, I mean, the way that these things are designed, that's really not, I don't want to say not possible. Anything's possible, right? But the way that they're designed is not, it doesn't allow those transmissions to interfere. Now, what you will run into and have run into with some of our older systems like the Alpha 100 or even a little bit on the 200 is some collar tracking interference. Really, a lot of that is solved with the Alpha 300. Now you're able to basically tell the collar to find a channel that's not being used, not just by you, but anyone else in that area within that VHF range. So that's a really cool new feature on the 300 that the 200 and 100 necessarily didn't have. So interference really in today's age with the Alpha 300 and the TT25 collars is pretty much irrelevant.
So I look at the different collars and I think to myself, what's the difference? Why is there a TT25, a T20, a TT15X, a T5X? I mean, what do all these things mean and what's the difference? Which one do I need?
Yeah, I mean, that's again one of the most frequent questions we get. And I think in the past, when we had the T5, the TT15, the T5X, and TT15X all at the same time, it did get really confusing. A lot of it was battery life related. Particularly, range has always been the same amongst all the collars, but now really there's one collar that everyone should be looking at. The older collars are fine and we'll continue to support them for a long time, but the new TT25 has really taken over as the flagship collar, and why that is because of the customization of it. You can now have a regular battery or an extended battery. You can have a regular VHF band or a zero length GPS band. You can have all different lengths of VHF antennas. So they're fully customizable, and they're much smaller than your older TT15 or TT15X collars.
If you're looking to sharpen your upland shooting skills, or maybe your kids are starting to get into the sport like mine are, then you need to check out GAIM. That's GAIM. Our friends over there are changing the way we approach training. Their cutting-edge virtual reality hunting and shooting scenarios immerse you in the field without actually leaving your home. Whether it's game birds or clays, the GAIM system allows you to practice your shotgun mechanics, giving you real-time shot feedback that allows for instant adjustments. And it's been incredibly fun for my kids. It allows them to safely build confidence, which I know translates to success in the field. Virtual training, real results. Click the show description below to learn more, or visit their website at gaim.com to try for yourself. That's GAIM.com. If your summer takes you on road trips up to the lake or down a dusty gravel road, Samaritan Tire Company has you covered. Locally owned with shops in Minnetonka and Edina, they are trusted by Midwest travelers and everyday drivers alike. Whether you need tough all-terrains for the truck or a smooth, quiet ride for the highway, Samaritan's crew gets it right. No upsell, just honest service. Visit SamaritanTire.com or stop in before you hit the road. Samaritan Tire, where folks still do business the right way.
Yeah. I mean, like these things that, it's...
That was my OG.
This is an old one. I mean, just look at the size.
Then this is the mini.
Right.
And then this is the one, this is the TT25.
Right.
So, I've never had any lost connections with this.
I have in the Chucker Hills, but that's just going to happen.
Right. So I guess my question then is, and I've seen other people talk about this before too, depends on, so if I put this on this remote on my head like this and I'm carrying it and it's upside down versus if it's on my vest here, right side up, does that affect the connection to the collar?
Absolutely. Orientation is key with those things, and the proper orientation obviously is straight up and down. Now, that's not to say that like when it's pointing into the ground, it's not gonna work at all, but it's definitely gonna reduce your range that you're gonna get out of that VHF connectivity. The straighter and higher that VHF antenna sits on your dog collar, pointing straight up in the air, and the more orientated your handheld is straight up and down is going to maximize that VHF connectivity. Anything other than that is going to reduce it, and it's just a question of how much is it going to reduce it.
You have anything
I
to
just
add
want
to
to point
that?
out.
Sure.
Yeah, those are best practices, right? Like that's always best practice. Make sure orientation is up, make sure handheld's up, but they're very powerful units. So it's not like if I have it in a vest, it's going to, cut out completely that side of things. So I just want to point that out. Like, I think it's important also to point out, like, we talk about it from, and you asked about this with interference. We talk about this from an upland hunting perspective, right? Really 6-8 dogs maybe in the field max at a time. Like these same units.
If there's 8 dogs in the field at a time, I ain't in that field.
Dude,
I'm telling you right now.
But you got to think that these units are trusted by houndsmen who with running packs of beagles, packs of hounds over huge distances, they really have to depend on their collars, and this is what they depend on, right? So just to put that kind of in perspective.
For sure.
What is the full, if I put the largest antenna on the collar, what is the full range that I could track my dog and stay connected with?
For a perfect line of sight, we rate them at about 9 miles. Is what the full size collar rating has always been.
In a realistic scenario, like Rehan's talking about with hounds, like what if you're in the woods or in the mountains chasing lions or something like that. I mean, I'm just kind of curious because it does kind of roll over into the chucker hunting world, which is something you and I have both done a bit. I mean, it's kind of that same not line of sight.
Yeah, I don't think that there's a specific number for that because terrain is so different. You know what I mean? But the way that I'd explain that is it's like I have always trusted those units to get my dogs back, and they always have. That's the best way I can answer that.
That's fair.
Well, when Daisy ran away from me in Montana, North Dakota, and Minnesota, I did eventually find her signal again. I just had to.
Did she run from Minnesota to North Dakota to Montana?
Back in her wild years, and it would always stop at 1.3 miles. Now that's because I was running a specific antenna on this. I think it's just the one right out of the box. Most people said 1.3 miles. They would never have their dog run that far away. She came out of your house, so that's why. She was trying to find you again.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Where she ended up.
Now I kind of wish she had.
Well,
she's a very nice little dog.
She is a sweetheart.
She just likes cheeseburgers and lasagna.
Yeah, about
she's
that.
basically
Who doesn't,
Garfield.
Tyler?
Right.
Fair. I also like cheeseburgers and lasagna.
My 3-year-old last night didn't like it, so it sat on her plate too long. So there. How about when you are syncing up a collar with a remote? Do you calibrate or how often do you recalibrate, and should you be recalibrating regularly?
Yeah, I always try and, my rule of thumb is that if I'm traveling over 100 miles from home to wherever I'm hunting, I'm going to recalibrate the compass. Now, that's probably a soft rule. I don't know that that's written in ink anywhere, but that's kind of my personal rule because of the shift of magnetic and true north. But honestly, it doesn't hurt anything to calibrate your compass. If you were... It wouldn't hurt anything to do it every single time you went out, and it's a pretty darn easy process. You basically are just
How long
waving.
does it take?
It takes about 30
10
seconds,
15 seconds.
Even when
do you
even if you
calibrate?
No,
I don't either.
I've never calibrated them. What once my collars have been connected,
you just don't
from
touch it.
1 year or from one state to the next, from the Canadian border to the Mexican border, it never calibrated them once, and they still work great.
Yeah.
But what I do with my system, or the way that I do everything, is I have an order that everything goes in when I'm getting ready for a hunt.
Socks first, then underwear.
Correct.
Yeah.
The first thing I do before anything else, when I get out of the truck, I take my handheld. I got roughly the same model as this. Turn it on, turn the collar on, and I set it up on top of my truck. Then I grab my vest, a shotgun, put the shotgun up alongside the truck, make sure that the collar's connected. And so the way that I run the 3 training buttons on these things I always have my for those of you who are watching the video, I always have my handheld like this. So I have my 3 training buttons set up here on the top for beep, momentary stimulation, and then continuous, with a little bit of a rise. And if I need to hit the continuous button, it means that there's something going on with one of my dogs. But the first thing I do is before I even put the collar on the dog is I just hit this button to make sure that it beeps. As long as I get that tone coming out of the collar, I know that my collar is connected. Then I put the collar on the dog. Then we go hunting.
See, my buttons are momentary,
hotter and hottest,
then continuous,
right?
And then a very. It's more like, hey, not this
Right.
is a. She should stop, but sometimes she gets so,
right. Focused.
Yeah,
and it's like that's why I use the beep. I use a tone to kind of break that concentration. I turn my dog.
Why I don't do that is because there was never a part in the training process that we included sound.
Sure.
You know, so therefore the tap is to say, hey, turn this way. We're going this way.
Right.
The tap again and say, hey, I'm going this way. She's supposed to look and say, oh, where's he going? Oh, I'm supposed to stay in.
I do that with the beep.
Yep. And that's just the way you train. So we train differently. But then the constant is, hey, you're going to stand still there. If she runs past it, then I'll go with a little higher. And I don't want to, in that moment, have to go searching or scrolling to up that.
That's why the 3 training buttons are nice.
That's why the 3 buttons are nice.
Yeah.
And that's why a dog trainer, professional trainer, has that 550 Pro, because it's literally your hands are right there. You start with the pointer finger, middle finger, ring finger, and you just instantly, that dog, boo, you bring him to a stop, because the amount of
timing is
where
key.
that focus and with the dog when you're training to put that stop button on, it's so crucial, because if you're off by a few seconds, their brain is already somewhere else.
Right.
So they're not necessarily connecting what you're telling them to do.
Right.
If that was a cord in your hand, you would just pull on it a little harder. And so that's why you want to have these options.
One of the things that I definitely want people to know, though, is that and I highly recommend the 200, the Alpha, the 300. I haven't ran the new 300 yet. Everybody that I've talked to that does run it really loves it. But if you're going to run one of these Alphas, I really, really, really recommend that you also pair it with a watch. I mean, like we just kind of touched on that a little bit, but when you guys started coming out with these watches, that was a game-changing moment for me. Like I'm never taking my handheld off my vest anymore. On the watch, it'll tell you when your dog's standing on point. It'll tell you which direction your dog's going, the distance. Every piece of information that you need is now on your wrist, or you just don't have to do anything.
Sure. Yeah. If you're not constantly communicating with buttons, the watch, and I run the Instinct too.
I got the Phoenix.
The Phoenix.
I got the
So let's talk watches, guys. It can be a little overwhelming. And I think when I look at your site and I see all the different watches, I want to just know where my dog is. I want to know when she's on point. I want to know which way I've got to go. I don't always understand all the bells and whistles that come with it. I'm not running marathons. I'm not tracking my blood pressure or things like that. I know that you can do all of this with the watch. So somebody that says, all right, I would like to pair a watch because that seems really handy. It is. Where do you begin? Like, where's the entry level? And then what are some of the features that would make somebody say, you know what, I want to up the next one up from that?
Yeah, I think to really simplify it for you, we have fitness focused watches and we have outdoor focused watches. So I think when you just break those kind of down the middle, then it becomes a lot more digestible. But for our purposes today, obviously, I'm going to talk about our outdoor watches because these are going to be the ones that have the dog tracking feature. And you really have, I call it 3. We have more than 3, but 3 models that you should really be looking at. And that would be our Instinct, our Phoenix, and our Tactics. The Instinct is kind of your entry level. It starts at about $400. You're going to have all of your outdoor features, all of your fitness features, health tracking, everything. You do have in our new Instinct 3, all of them come with an LED flashlight. That's something that we've incorporated into amongst all of our outdoor watches as far as the newer models go. So that's your instinct. The only thing you don't get with instinct is going to be your onboard mapping. There will be a few other activities and a couple small features. Again, we do have an awesome compare tool on our website that will really run you through every single spec side by side. But jumping up from an instinct into a Phoenix, you're really, you're paying for materials, you're paying for mapping, and you're paying for additional features like our golfing features, our diving features. Our Phoenix is really our across all of Garmin, our do-it-all watch, so to speak. It's got all of your outdoor stuff, all of your fitness stuff, health stuff, golf, dive, the dog tracking. If you shoot our bow sight, it's got our 0 locations in there, so you can send 0 locations to the watch. Also has an LED flashlight, but I mentioned the materials. You're getting sapphire glass, which is one of the hardest materials on earth. It's very, very scratch resistant. I've had mine for 8 months or more and banged it up on all sorts of stuff and don't have a single scratch on it. You're also getting a titanium front and back. So that's your instinct and that's your Phoenix. Now going into the tactics, really the big difference there is it's coming with an applied ballistics calculator. So if you're a rifle hunter or you shoot rifles competitively or professionally, that's definitely something to look into.
Wild.
You can
What a time to be alive.
That's
Jeez.
wild, man.
Right.
Does it pull the trigger for you too? I mean,
That would sure
seriously.
be cool.
I'm looking at him right now. Tyler and I we put our watches together.
Yeah,
It's got a
superpowers.
little bit bigger screen.
Yeah, this is a Phoenix 5.
Okay.
This is an older one. I know that the newer ones have a little bit bigger screens. But you talk about the scratch resistant glass. I've had this thing for 5 years or 4 years or a long time. And I mean, it's perfect. And the other thing that I definitely want to mention with these watches, the battery life is unbelievable.
Right.
I know the new ones.
Is it solar?
It is not, but I was just going to say I know the new ones also have solar. But I probably, even when I'm running dogs every day during the fall, I probably only have to charge my watch every 2 weeks, and that's if I'm running my dogs every day with the GPS tracker on it. During the summer, it's probably once a month.
So to hop
I
in here,
get 30 days on mine there. Go ahead, Rehan.
yeah. So to break it down really easy, Patrick did a great job explaining it. The way that I would kind of say it is, if you like kind of a Pro 550 plus mentality, maybe a little bit less tech, check out the Instinct line. It's still really good. It's just a monochromatic display, simple, easy, tough, rugged. If you like that kind of alpha, more tech, I want more stuff, go into the Phoenix or Tactics, because that has a lot of horsepower to it as well. I like them both, quite frankly. I mean, I wore an Instinct forever just because it's light, tough, rugged. I also switched over to the Tactics, though, because that's a fantastic one. One interesting feature that is in the Phoenix line and the Tactics line, I don't believe it's in the Instinct line, which is if you are paired up to your handheld on your watch and you drop your handheld, there's a function that you can say, find my handheld, and it will actually guide you back to where you dropped your handheld.
Oh, that's wild. I didn't know that.
Which watches have that?
That's the Phoenix line, the Tactics line, and a few others, but it's going to kind of be in that family. So it's just a handy one because that's something that we get. It's like,
it
hey,
happens.
if I drop my handheld, what should I do? So, and the other thing to note on that one with the Alpha, if you have your InReach on and if you have your InReach subscription going and you drop it, you can actually, I believe, ping it remotely. And so it should be able to pull that up.
Super cool.
So people can buy Garmin products on a ton of different dog training sites, watches, everything. You can buy, let's go to Shields or Sportsman's Guide or whatever you want to do. Where's the best place to buy your products? If somebody everybody wants the best deal. So where's the best place to go?
Well, I mean, there's really one, you can go to Garmin.com. There's a lot of really good information, but also there's likely a local store around, or even call up kind of the main brand guys. Really, if you have questions, go and talk to somebody. Major retailers have them. There's info on Garmin.com. Just what I'd say there is figure out what you like and talk to somebody or read about it online, because once you get it, you just won't want to stop using it.
Right. But hands-on is kind of nice when you're playing around with it in store if you want to go in that
for
route.
sure.
We've been on here for over an hour, so let's get to what are the most frequently asked questions people send in to you or reach out to Garmin about.
Yeah, I mean, we hit on a lot of them already, right? Like, what device should I get? What collars should I get? Common troubleshooting, we talked about the compass calibration a little bit there. But like, what happens if it just doesn't seem right? Like maybe the direction is off or the distance is off, and like they're connected, but something doesn't seem right. And really there's three big ones that I would say. One would be calibrate your compass. That's first and foremost. Two would be software. Make sure your software is up to date. With our newer units, the Alpha 300, Alpha 200 even, they pair right up to your phone via our Alpha app or our Explore app, which will push software automatically from your phone. So
that's
unless
why I've
you're
never
still
had
running,
to update my unit.
Yeah,
so
I've
if you're
not
still
updated
running,
Ryan. Yeah.
Yeah.
if you're still
how
running
often
an
do you
older,
recommend doing that?
well, it's going to do it automatically for you. So assuming that you have your phone paired to your unit, it's just going to push updates automatically. And you might one day turn on your Alpha 300. It'll say, we found new software. You want to complete the installation? You'll hit yes, and it'll do it for you. It's because it pushed from your phone. So the days of having to plug your units and your collars into a computer are basically over as long as you're utilizing the app.
Where do you find that app?
The App Store.
It's on the App Store. Yeah.
What's it called?
So it's the Alpha app for your phone.
Is it called Alpha or is it through Garmin?
It's Garmin. I use the Garmin Explorer. Yeah. Okay. You said it'll do it off the Explorer, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Good information.
Absolutely.
I'm trying to dumb it down for Alex over here.
Joke's on you. I've seen Garmin all over my TikTok for the past 3 weeks.
Yeah. Well,
All the Garmin watches, all the runners that are starting to get the Garmin watches.
They're awesome watches, man.
Yeah. You guys have a marathon you're starting, right?
We do.
Yes, we do.
It's
Marathon series.
really
I love how
exciting.
you're not excited about it because it's during hunting season.
Yeah.
It's like, we do. Yeah. You can be honest with us. This is a safe space here, guys.
I'm going to be honest with you. Like, I'm not a huge runner. And so it's like, I'm so happy, but just even the idea for me of like 26 miles, that ain't me. Like, if you want me to click off like 15 miles
and give me a free watch.
Patrick has to cancel his Saskatchewan duck hunt because there's a marathon, and he's thrilled about it. You can just see it in his face.
Put that on the list of things that'll never will be said about me ever.
You running a marathon,
or that I'm missing a Saskatchewan duck hunt to go to a marathon.
Yeah. Okay. Any final frequently asked questions that we didn't already hit?
One we get all the time is what's coming next. I don't have an answer for that. We're always working on stuff though. Like, we're always listening to customer feedback. We're always just getting input. So we're always just trying to create the best experience for customers. So we're always working on something.
Yeah.
It's a great, great company, great products.
Yeah. To build off that a little bit, it's not necessarily what's coming, but it's what's here. And I mentioned it. It's the Alpha app. It's got so many cool features. We just added our Outdoor Maps Plus to it, which for a yearly subscription, now you can get all sorts of different mapping layers, public lands, landowner information within that dog tracking platform. So it's a really cool integration into the Alpha app. It's something that, like, if you're a Pro 550 Plus user, that's like, man, I really wish that I had mapping like the Alpha 300 provides me. You can actually link that Pro 550 Plus into the Alpha app, and then you can see your dog's location live on a map screen. So you do have that option and that functionality there as well.
Awesome. Rehan, I know you're keeping tabs on the quail population down there. What's it looking like? Last question for you.
I'm trying. Hope springs eternal, I guess, is what they say.
Right. Yeah.
If we look in Kansas, Kansas had a few bad years of drought there. The crow counts just came out. So like when we look at counts, it's the crow counts for crow and whistle counts in the spring, and then brood surveys in the fall. For pheasant, I think it's up like 47% in Kansas. So
we don't care about pheasants. Give us the quail numbers.
All right. Well, maybe not as good. I think they're up about 2%. So it's not, but historically, you have to look like Kansas is like is one of the last bastions, I think, of really good quail hunting. I mean, you can look at like Oklahoma, Texas, even in Nebraska and other places, and I'm talking Bob's.
Right.
Those other states have really hard swings, but consistently Kansas has really strong quail numbers. I think that this year should be good. There's always kind of that central band through the state where as you get lower, you get into mixed bag, kind of north central, northwest. Over winter, I think was good. There were rains kind of during nesting season. So I think it's a question mark right now in terms of how this season is going to unfold. But we'll see. And there's always, good habitat. There's always birds somewhere in Kansas.
Gentlemen, we appreciate the time today on behalf of Big Al over there and Tyler. If anybody wants to learn more, head to Garmin.com. You can see all of these different watches, collars, devices that we've been talking about. And then, of course, you guys can be found somewhere when they reach out if they do to ask any further questions. Hopefully, this kind of got our minds wrapped a little bit more on the technology side of this. I still can't imagine what it would have been like to release my dog before this technology existed.
So is what we're going to do at the end of the podcast is we're going to give out Patrick's direct cell phone number so everybody can just call Patrick and he can get them all lined out.
8675
30.
Yeah, there you go. All right. We'll be back next week with another episode of the Flush Podcast. Thanks, guys.